More Chumba Casino fan mail. Love this. It says, Dear Ryan, I love Chumba Casino. There's so much fun. I love the wild ride from the social slots to the Slingo to jackpots quicker than a 6-time real spin. Everybody's finding their fun at Chumba Casino. Why don't you find out for yourself? Head to ChumbaCasino.com and enjoy hundreds of casino-style games for free with your welcome bonus. Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply.
How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word show to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word show, SHOW, to 33777. Text show to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 1.
Greetings, conversationalists. Welcome. It's Eric Erickson here. Delighted to have you with me this fine day. Happy birthday to my wife. We'll get into that in a little bit. And the continuing resolution. Goodness gracious. Boy, do we have to get into the continuing resolution. The phone number, if you want to be on the program, 877-973-7425. You can text Eric, E-R-I-C-K, to 33777. Be sure you get the podcast and the live stream. Particularly, I'll be back with you. I'm going to be gone on Monday, and I'll be back on Christmas Eve on Tuesday with the Christmas show. Had a great conversation with Pastor Joby Martin down in Jacksonville for that show, and have several other great conversations for you to listen to, in addition to a lot of the other stuff for the Christmas Eve show. It'll be great. Now, I got to begin here because I've been waiting for this to happen, and it seems to be happening. You recall, if you will, the stages of grief. 5 stages of grief. There's denial, there's anger, there's bargaining, there's depression, and there's acceptance. The Democrats are in an array of those stages, but some of them, after, the depression, are turning to anger. And their anger is exactly as I predicted. I told you this was going to happen. Democrats are suddenly realizing the man they said was such a hero, such an icon, such a statesman, such a leader, Joe Biden, is not so much. I was actually on with Leland Vittert last night on News Nation, and we were talking about this. The Pod Save America bros, they were we worked for Barack Obama. They went out. They're progressives. They moved to L.A. They got a sweetheart deal doing a podcast that lots of the Democrats turn to and listen to, and they're not very happy right now. Listen to some of it.
Trump isn't president yet. A fact that's getting easier and easier to forget as Joe Biden seems to be disappearing from the public stage as his term comes to an end.
Joe Biden believes in tradition and institutions, and we should only have one president at a time. And I think it's a surprising choice to allow it to be Donald Trump.
Wow. Now, here's the notable punchline for those guys from Pod Saves America. If you remember the fundraiser in Hollywood that George Clooney and Barack Obama did, and the video came out of Joe Biden having to be led off stage by Barack Obama, conservatives pointed this out, that look at the full clip, not the short clip, look at the full clip, and Barack Obama has to have his hand on Joe Biden's back the entire time, leading him off stage. Something's wrong. And some people came out and said, no, that's not true. That's not what I saw at the event. Only for it to turn out that George Clooney himself and others after that event were like, yeah, something's not right here. And Clooney tried to deflect a little bit and said, the guy on that debate stage you see in wasn't the guy I saw just a few weeks ago. Something's happening. Others came out and said, yeah, actually, Joe Biden was clearly off that night on that stage. The Pod Bros were there with Obama. They were there for the event. They defended Joe Biden at the time. They denied what we saw with our own eyes was true. Everything was fine. Everything was fine. Just ask them. They were there. They were eyewitnesses. It wasn't selectively edited video. Never mind, it never was selectively edited video. They wanted you to believe that it was selectively edited video and that everything was fine with Joe Biden. We all knew that wasn't the case. Now, they're all upset. They're all upset. They covered for Joe Biden. They carried water for Joe Biden, and Joe Biden is not delivering for them. They somehow want Joe Biden to stack the deck against Donald Trump. There's only so much a president of the United States can actually do. And Joe Biden isn't really out there to be seen. Now, this audio is a little bit hard to hear. I'm fast forwarding through the reporter's question because the reporter, well, you can't hear him on the microphone. Joe Biden is standing outside somewhere, the White House, I think, talking to reporters. This is him about the drones.
Nothing nefarious, apparently, but they're checking it all out. I think it's just one. There's a lot of drones authorized.
Nothing nefarious, we think. A lot of drones authorized. There he is. Mildly coherent at nighttime. Now, we don't know that it's actually nighttime. That could have been at 3 p.m. in the afternoon, thanks to the freaking time change. It's pitch black outside. Donald Trump says he wants to get rid of daylight saving time. I don't think we're going to get rid of it. Just as a random aside here. Random aside, tangent in the middle of this. Yes, ADHD on display. Half of America are creepy morning people. The other half are normal people who like to stay up at night. And those of us who are normal people, we like to leave work and have sun and hang out with our families outside and play some golf. It's the sociopaths who get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and go to the gym, who want sun in the morning. Now, you're a sociopath. Let's just be honest here. You morning people are sociopaths. You need to recognize you are psychotic to be up that early. Dad, I'm talking to my father right now, who, I mean, as he gets older, gets up early and earlier. At some point, my father's going to reach the age where he's just staying up 24/7 because he already gets up at like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. I do not understand how any human being does that. I have looked. They have no rose bed for me to dig under and see if there are bodies. But I'm telling you, you early morning people, y'all are all sociopaths, my father included. I'm not sure I can fully trust you when you get up at 4 and 5 o'clock in the morning. And some of you go to CrossFit that early in the morning. I swear you're going to CrossFit and then you're burying your bodies in the backyard or something. Sociopaths. Normal people want to come home in the afternoon and have sun up, go outside, play some golf, have time with their family, and then watch the sunset and go to bed. Instead, the sun's setting like 4 o'clock in the evening. That is too early in the day. I want to get rid of standard time and keep us on daylight savings time. But you morning people are like, no, we need it in the morning. Like the speed cameras around schools. We got to do it for the children. It's not for the children. The children are perfectly fine getting up before it's sun up and going to school. It's for you. You want to be able to go to the gym and see because you're at your age. You got astigmatism and you can't drive at night, so you got to have the sun up in the morning. No. Get rid of standard time, keep daylight saving time, whatever you do, stop the fallback, spring forward. But that's why we're not, because you morning sociopaths are going to complain that you got to have your sun in the morning. Normal people are going to complain they want sun in the afternoon, and so Congress will do exactly what Congress does. Nothing. We'll have no time change. Okay, that was a tangent from the tangent, off of one tangent, back to another tangent, back to Joe Biden now that I got that off my chest. Felt good to get that off my chest. I love you, Father. I do love you. But really, at some point, you're going to be up 24 hours a day. You're getting up so early. All of you people in the mornings, and you're going to the gym at 5 o'clock in the morning. My trainer goes to the gym at 4:15 every morning. I don't understand you people. Nonetheless, I digress again. Y'all, this was always going to happen. Joe Biden was always about himself. And this, the Democrats had to, in their defense of Joe Biden, build up some story about him being a great patriot. Building up some wild story that Joe Biden is some sort of American hero. Joe Biden's not an American hero. He's one of the most selfish politicians, not selfless, selfish politicians in American history. The man's wife is killed. His daughter is killed. His two sons lose their mother. And he says, well, going to leave you with the nanny. I got to go be a senator in Washington, D.C. And he's there for 50 years. And he brags about, I took the Acela home every night and really spent time with my kids during standard time when it was pitch black outside, so he couldn't even go do stuff. Joe Biden has been wrong about everything in 50 years. He's not a good person. If you think he's a good person, go talk to the granddaughter he had to be bullied into acknowledging was his. Go talk to the people who won't get pardoned for won't see pardons for their kids for gun crimes, and then go talk to Hunter Biden for his pardon over gun crimes, or just read his letter after the shooting the other day at Abundant Life Christian School. But you Democrats had to tell yourselves that he was some sort of hero. He was some sort of great person. He was some sort of saintly person. And now you get to see the Joe Biden the rest of us have seen. He's a doddering old fool with dementia who's selfish, and you have been covering for him the whole time. It's really rich that you guys are upset about Joe Biden now because, Joe Biden hasn't changed. This is the same Joe Biden the rest of us have seen. You're only just now willing to acknowledge the problems with Joe Biden. And there are a lot of problems with Joe Biden. And now you're upset he's not doing enough to stop Donald Trump. Here's the other bottom line on all of this stuff. Is you can't really stop Donald Trump. One president can do very little to limit the powers of the incoming president. He can certainly try to sell off the border wall, and Trump is going to court to try to enjoin Biden from doing that. Joe Biden can certainly flood Ukraine with a lot of money that Donald Trump won't be able to recall. He can do some things, but not as much as the Democrats want. Remember back in 2000, the losers, they decided to pry the W's off the keyboards in the White House. They might as well pry the T's off the keyboards in the White House. Now, people went to jail for doing that, damage to public property. They'll go to jail this time, but, they'll go to jail proud. They'll be heroes like the guy who leaked everybody's taxes on the right. You'll make them a hero. You'll want a presidential pardon in the future, nonsense like that. There's only so much Joe Biden can do. And by the way, your fallback is Kamala Harris. How rich is that? You now want Joe Biden. This is the pipe dream of the left, just so you know. The pipe dream on the left now is that Joe Biden should resign so that Kamala Harris becomes the 47th president to undermine all of the themes and the merchandise for Donald Trump being the 47th president. Is that not the dumbest thing you've heard? This is how petty the Democrats are right now. They want Biden to resign just so all of the paraphernalia the Trump campaign is selling related to the number 47 really applies to Kamala Harris. That's how petty they are. You guys elected a man with dementia. You've covered for him for 4 years. And only now are you willing to admit, you're not just realizing it, you've known it all along. You're now finally willing to admit he is who the rest of us have been telling you the whole time. And you don't want to acknowledge that we're right, so you're trying to conjure up new excuses to be able to deny he is who he is. Joe Biden hasn't changed at all. Neither has Jill Biden. And the two of them together have lived off the federal dole for a very long time. It's coming to the end. And you're ludicrous if you think he's somehow going to resign before they cart him off. There's no way. And you're ludicrous to think that Joe Biden is going to take the steps you want him to take to stop Donald Trump, when the fact of the matter is Joe Biden's as mad at you as you are at him. He is convinced that he could have beaten Donald Trump. He's convinced of it still. Yes, friends, this may be news to you, but Joe Biden is actually convinced, had the Democrats not thrown him overboard, he'd be on course for re-election as president of the United States. That's how absurdly arrogant and depraved Joe Biden is. He thinks he could have won and that Kamala Harris was just a weak candidate. The Democrats, in other words, are getting exactly what they deserve from all of this. They propped him up, they covered for him, they made excuses for him, and now they finally have to recognize we were right all along on who Joe Biden was, is, and always will be. Yes, please do. And if you want to be on the program, it's 877-973-7425. Happy to have you. Again, just so you guys know, I will be here the rest of this week Going to be gone on Monday, back on Tuesday. We'll re-air Tuesday show on Wednesday for Christmas, and then I'll be back after New Year's on the 6th. I'm going to have a little bit of time off. So my son's birthday was last week, and we ordered him a piano, a Kawai, after many of you recommended it, and it arrived today. Today is my wife's birthday, so it arrived on her birthday. She kind of wanted a new piano as well. So they are at home playing on the piano, and listen. The sound of silence in my office. It's a glorious thing. So Disney is having a moment. The media is furious with Disney for paying Donald Trump $15 million to settle a claim from ABC News. ABC News, on background, people are saying Disney executives were worried about facing a jury in the state of Florida. They were worried about precedent being set at the Supreme Court that could be bad for the First Amendment. And I suspect they were actually worried about what would be discovered in discovery, although they don't want to say that. At the same time, they have canceled a trans storyline they were going to put in a kids program. The program was Win or Lose. It's a Pixar streaming series about a co-ed high school team. It debuts in February. Disney had bragged that it was going to have a transgender plot within the storyline, and they have now announced they are excising the transgender storyline from it. And the left, of course, is furious. Another cave to Donald Trump and what happened with the election. Seth Dillon, who owns Babylon Bee, tweeted this out a little while ago. He said, quote, "Let's not give them too much credit. Like a predator stalking a child, they got spooked and ran off when the parents showed up." He's not wrong. They're going to find ways to continue to do this. You know, there was a hearing in Congress yesterday that there are only 10 trans athletes in the NCAA. And the Democrats say, well, if there are only 10 out of 510,000 NCAA athletes, maybe there's nothing to be worried about. And when the response is, you're right, we shouldn't have to reorder society to accommodate just 10 trans athletes. And they were going, no, got to reorder all of society to accommodate these 10. We're being played. But at least right now, the media, Disney at least, realizes where things are headed and what they should and shouldn't do. Good. Now, you should go to Hillsdale College at ericforhillsdale.com. Go sign up today. Take a special class on the Christmas Carol. Now, you're thinking, I don't want to take a class at Christmas Carol. It's actually really good and perfectly timed for the Christmas season. It's a series of lectures on video. You do at your own pace by an assistant professor of English at Hillsdale College. You get a certificate after you've done it, certify you've taken this class at Hillsdale College, and you learn about the deeper meanings and themes within Charles Dickens' Christmas Carol. It's perfect for this time of year. And you also get to experience what makes Hillsdale College so unique. Not only that, you can sign up for Imprimus completely free. Imprimus comes to your mailbox every month with the latest thinking of the conservative movement. This month actually has a great piece from Kevin Roberts in it from the Heritage Foundation. All you got to do, go to ericforhillsdale.com, E-R-I-C-K, ericforhillsdale.com. Sign up for Hillsdale College. Take this class on the Christmas Carol. Take Imprimus for free. Get their podcast. They've got such great stuff. Eric, E-R-I-C-K, ericforhillsdale.com. Sign up and start a relationship with Hillsdale College today. Welcome back. It is Eric Erickson here across the nation. The phone number, 877-973-7425. Y'all, I'll spend way more time on this at Christmas Eve. But today is my wife's birthday. I will be a good husband and not say my wife's age. I don't know that she would matter, but I won't. But let me just talk to you about the real world for a moment, because we're obsessed with politics. We're obsessed with the news. We're obsessed with so many things that oftentimes I think in the grand scheme of things don't necessarily matter. On December, I want to say it was December 21st. It might have been December 20th, but I think it's the 21st. of 2006, I lost my job. And my wife was at a doctor's appointment, and she's coming in the driveway, and I got to tell her I'm out of a job. I took a leap of faith. I left my law practice. I helped get redstate.com off the ground, was the editor-in-chief and the CEO of the company. Republicans lost Congress in November of 2006, and our revenue went from a lot of money to nothing overnight. And we didn't have the revenue, and I needed to find a new job. We had enough money to pay me through the end of the year. And so I went downstairs to wait for my wife, and my wife was at the door, and she had a look on her face of just terror. And she came in and said she had to pack her stuff and go to the hospital. She had been at a doctor's appointment over some stuff they had found in her lungs during an exam, and she had a blood clot in her jugular vein, which is very, very rare, very hard to do just because of the high rate of blood flow through your jugular vein. To have a blood clot there is something. And so she had to go to the hospital. And when she got there, the doctors were there to tell her that they were going to take her in for surgery because she probably had some form of cancer causing that blood clot, given the spots in her lungs. So less than a week before Christmas in 2006, I had lost my job. And on the same day, I had to wait for my wife to wake up from a lung biopsy to tell her that she was going to die. 6 months is all she had. Less than a week before Christmas in 2006. And I got to tell you, I get sometimes frustrated with some listeners who they email me and they're so worked up about the election, or they disagree with me on some political point and they're just furious, and the people, I'll never listen to you again because you don't agree with this, blah, 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 blah. And all I can think is, there is so much more to life than whatever it is you're worked up about. I literally had to tell my wife she was going to die. There had been a wreck. The doctors were needed in the emergency room. The weather was terrible, and they said they would either come back or I could be the one to do it. And I volunteered. I went to that recovery room, and I waited for her to come out of her anesthesia, to open her eyes, to be coherent, to ask what they found. And I told her they had found cancer, and there was nothing they could do. And they had sewn her back up and said she had 6 months. And, oh, by the way, I've got to leave you now because our 1-year-old is at daycare, and I've got to go get her from daycare before they close. So I left, and I got my kid, and I went home, and I sunk down in the mud. It was pouring down rain, and I began to cry, and my kid has patted me on the face, telling me everything is okay. I mean, not telling me, but just, a 1-year-old patting you on your face as if everything's going to be fine. I got her inside, waited for family to come, got her dried off, got her fed, got her in bed, did some serious praying and crying at my desk, sending emails to people that, oh my God, my wife is going to die. Went back to the hospital and began all those deep, meaningful conversations. My wife, by the way, convinced she is going to be fine. Convinced. I'm like, the doctors know what they're talking about. And we had those conversations you never want to have. How do you raise the kid? Where do you raise the kid? What do you do? Do you remarry? What? Had all those conversations. Right at Christmas. The doctors came in the next day, thankfully. Said they had looked again and they really weren't sure what she had in her lungs, but they were pretty sure maybe it wasn't, after all, this rare form of cancer that had spread into her lungs from elsewhere. Thankfully, they were right. They sent the sample off to the Mayo Clinic. And right before Christmas in 2006, we got the reprieve. She would not be dying. She had much longer than 6 months to live. And however awful that was, the twist in this, you can say luck, providence, whatever. I go with the word providence. Had they not misdiagnosed her in 2006, fast forward 10 years, 2016, 10 years ago, or 8 years ago from now, I was being wheeled into a cardiac ICU unit, given 24 hours to live. My lungs had filled up with blood clots. My family was told they needed to come, that I was bad off. I still have damage to this. It was so extensive. I still deal with issues. But I was fine. But as they're wheeling me in, my wife was calling me saying, hey, the Mayo Clinic called me. They think I've got lung cancer. As I'm trying to call her to tell her, hey, you need to get your family. I've got 24 hours to live. Maybe. It was a wild, wild day. My wife's parents took her out to the Mayo Clinic in Arizona. I wasn't allowed on an airplane. Took her to the Mayo Clinic. They did another lung biopsy, her second. Then sure enough, had they not misdiagnosed her in 2006, they would have never known to even think that she might have lung cancer, and she does. Stage 4. It's genetic. There is no cure. And again, you can call it luck, you can call it providence, whatever you want to say. The doctor who really was the expert on this cancer and who helped develop the medicine that keeps people who have this cancer alive is at Emory University just up the road from us. And so the doctors at the Mayo Clinic were like, we would love to be your doctors, but the expert is an hour from your house as opposed to across the country from you. So that guy is her doctor. And the medicine works for 2 years. So 8 years ago, in October of 2016, my wife was put on a medicine and said she would have 2 years. It would buy her 2 more years of life. We enrolled our kids at a new school. My wife, unbeknownst to me, had a meeting with the principal and the headmaster and told them they were going to have to promise her to take care of her kids because she wouldn't be there. My wife's mom died when she was in first grade. And it was very hard on my wife to think that she herself would leave our daughter in a similar situation where her mother would never be there to see her walk across the stage at graduation. She had 2 years. That was 8 years ago. Last night, I made my wife a birthday cake. Went to bed about 11:45 p.m. last night. And the layers were still hot, so I got back up at 3:15 this morning to finish the cake after the layers had cooled down, and then went back to bed. And when I get home this evening, we will celebrate her birthday. I've already given her her gift. 8 years later, she's still here with us. She did see her daughter cross the graduation stage. We hope she'll be here in 2 more years to see our son cross the graduation stage. We don't know. We don't know. We hope, we pray. I say all this, and we'll talk more about it on Christmas Eve, because that tends to be what I do to set the stage for the Christmas Eve show. But I wanted to, very publicly, tell you guys, my wife is just amazing. She does strongman competitions. She has pulled a UPS truck. She has a Harley. She's got a tattoo sleeve she's working on. She has more shotguns than me. She claims to be slightly taller than me. I dispute this claim. I dispute it. Will never recognize it nor admit it. She claims it. She wears high heels. But she's amazing. And she's here. She's here. A lot of you are struggling at Christmas. I get the emails. Got an email from someone yesterday, as a matter of fact. They were going through a divorce at Christmas. They have young kids. It is not, the correspondent says, a matter of infidelity. It's a matter of they never should have done it in the first place. They never got along to begin with. They had a child before they were married and got married, and the whole thing is crumbling. I got an email last week from someone who is struggling to pay his mortgage. People have miserable times all year long, but this is the time of year where you have sociopaths on television who go out and buy their wives brand new Lexuses without even talking to them first and put giant bows on the cars. I mean, the pressure is on for you to have the perfect Christmas. If sociopath on TV is buying his wife a Lexus without her permission or knowledge, without even getting her sense of what sort of car she wanted or color she wanted, and finding a giant bow and putting it on, I mean, it sets a very high bar for Christmas. All the TV shows, all the catalogs, all the magazines in the aisle at the checkout at your local grocery store, they got the perfect tree, they got the perfect cake, they got the perfect Christmas, they got the perfect bows on the perfect presents. You got a very high bar. You have a very high bar. And then some of you are so excited because your guy won the election. Some of you are depressed your gal lost the election. Some of you are beside yourselves because you think the world is going to hell in a handbasket. Look at what's going on in the world. Look at the school shootings. Look at the headlines. Look at the wars. Look at all this stuff. I want to tell you, as we head into Christmas and you're fretting about your last-minute shopping and your perfect ham or your perfect turkey or your perfect present or your perfect bow, it's all a bunch of garbage. It is a pressure put on yourself. I want it too. But there are so many more important things in life. There are so many more important things in life than an election, than a headline, than something far away that causes you terrors at night, than a drone flashing through the sky that you don't know where it came from or where it's going. There are so many bigger, more important things in life, and they tend to be around your family. And I want you to know, as someone who had to look his wife in the eyes and tell her she was going to die, I have been through those struggles. I have friends right now who have spouses who are dying, and they won't get the reprieve my wife got. I have friends who have lost children in the past year. They won't get the reprieve my wife got. There will be an emptiness around the Christmas tree this year. I think of those poor people in Madison, Wisconsin at that school where you know and I know there were presents under a tree that will be unopened and probably have to be returned because the person they were meant for got shot and killed the other day. Life is not easy. Life is oftentimes unfair. But you've been given one. You've been given opportunity. And as hard as it is sometimes not to despair, I'm telling you, the world is better off with all of us, yourself included, in it. And don't listen to the darkness. Don't be dragged down to despair. The God of all creation sent his son, who was born in a food trough, probably in a cave, who lived a perfect life and still was executed, beaten, tortured, nailed to a cross, and died because he wants a relationship with us. It was a plan put in place before the foundation of the world itself was set in place. So everything's going to be okay. All things work for the good of those called according to his purpose. I have lived misery at Christmas and came out on the other side. And you're going to be just fine. I know it may not seem like it right now, but the key at Christmas time is not the presents. It's not even the gathering of family. It's certainly not the financial pressure. What it is that relationship you can have with the Almighty, with your family. But I just want you to know, as we head into talking about raw politics on the other side of this break, that life is too short to be worried about politics when you've got a neighbor who could use a smile, or you yourself could use one. Love your neighbor. That matters so much more than who won an election. Now, let me tell you about Americans for Prosperity before I get out of here. AFP would love to have you involved. You want to make some great connections and build some new relationships with people. They've got chapters in just about every state, and they have activists involved who are fighting for common sense conservative solutions. They'd love to have you involved with them. Go to americansforprosperity.org/volunteer today. americansforprosperity.org/volunteer. Sign up with AFP. You'll learn how to be an effective conservative activist. You'll get all the facts and figures to be the smartest person in your circle of friends. They can teach you how to knock on doors to persuade neighbors or show up at local or state governments, make persuasive cases for you and your family. Americansforprosperity.org/volunteer. Americansforprosperity.org/volunteer. I'm a member too. Love to have you with me. Americansforprosperity.org/volunteer. Hello and welcome. It is Eric Erickson here across the nation. The phone number is 877-973-7425 if you want to be on the program. When we get back, top of the hour, we'll go through how bad the continuing resolution is and why the Republicans are going to pass it anyway. My friend Kat Kamek, Congresswoman from Florida, I saw last night on Instagram. She put up a post that conservatives in the House need their own OnlyFans account, considering how often they get screwed. It's a very funny line. I was at my office late last night. I had to do a TV interview, and then I had to get stuff ready for when I'm on vacation, had to get stuff ready for my Christmas Eve show, record some interviews with some folks, and I had on in the background the crypto golf match in Las Vegas. First of all, they did it, and it was night, which was kind of wild. They had Shadow Creek, a golf course I've always wanted to play, out in Las Vegas. They had it all lit up. Night golf is a big thing in Japan. It's kind of wild to see it. The shadows mess with you. But it was interesting because it was the two live players, Bryson DeChambeau and Brooks Koepka, playing against Rory McIlroy and Scotty Scheffler, basically number one and number two in golf. And the live guys don't really qualify for those sorts of rankings these days. And it was all the live players have essentially insisted that they're as good as the PGA. And Bryson DeChambeau is a brilliant player. Seems like a very nice guy. But it really wasn't close. And I realized that things change and that that people can have bad rounds. But McIlroy is notorious for messing up at the bitter end. In fact, Bryson DeChambeau beat him in the U.S. Open golf match at Pinehurst this year because McIlroy kind of choked at the end. But my gosh, Scheffler and McIlroy, both of them, by the way, really good guys, just head and shoulders above Koepka and DeChambeau. Bryson DeChambeau just seems like a nice guy. There's a story there, for those of you unfamiliar, just he had a very, very negative reputation and has just completely rebuilt it. It just seems like a really, really nice guy. But what a mess. What a match. All right, when we come back, the CR.